Hey guys, you're watching The Real Deal with Keith Trent. I am here with the lovely Karimah Westbrook, and we're going to be talking with her today a little bit about her career and her upcoming role in the movie Suburbicon. So, Karimah, thank you for coming in with us today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what were your early influences and what drew you into acting in the first place?
Well, my early influence, as far as inspiration, as far as performance, would be Goldberg. I remember as a kid watching her and feeling so entertained. It was like a great escape, like all the character parts that she played, and I remember thinking, I want to do that. As a kid, I didn't really know that I could do it as a career, but I just loved what I saw, and I love how it made me feel. So she was probably the biggest inspiration. That's the only person I could remember as a child watching, even from back, Color Purple, and then even as a kid I would always perform anyway, do little skits with my cousin on the camcorder. But again, she was definitely a huge influence for me.
Let me ask you, how many times have you seen the movie Sister Act 2?
No comment. No. I haven't seen. Sister Act wasn't really
seen Sister Act?
I've seen Sister Act, but Sister Act wasn't on the top of the list. We have movies like Ghost, I'm talking Jumpin' Jack Flash, I'm talking Burglar, I'm talking Fatal Beauty, I'm talking about, Whoopi, I mean, not saying Sister Act wasn't Whoopi, but this was those are some of my favorites. I love Sister Act too, but yeah.
Nice, yeah. So that, for me, I feel like coming up in the church, that was our number one go-to, Oh Happy Day.
Right.
All those, the classic youth choir songs.
Exactly.
So coming up in a performing arts school, as opposed to some people who go different routes, how did that help in terms of you finding work out after school and stuff like that?
I feel like the performing arts school just equipped me with an approach. I think very early on as a kid, I just did it, work from imagination, which all kids do, but even in high school, that was pretty much all I knew. I didn't have any technique, I didn't have an approach, I didn't have any tools. So the thing that performing arts school gave me was just tools, basically. It exposed me to different approaches to the craft, history of the craft, and a lot of the different teachers who actually introduced different techniques into the world of acting. So I would say that was the biggest thing. It just gave me an approach and tools.
So you talked a little bit about the tools that working in the performing arts schools gave you. What were some of the tools that really helped you, and some of the works that you really felt grounded you as an actor?
The works in the actual school, or yeah.
Dealing with maybe working with Greek tragedies and Shakespeare and a lot of those things that people consider to be the more foundational works when you're building your skills as an actor.
I think a lot of the vocal tools, the Alexander technique, a lot of things with body and motion, because I was from the Midwest, so I don't really hear people say I have an accent, but I don't really hear the accent. But my language, I think language was a big thing that the school. I actually did not. I'll say this: I did not complete the program because during the time, it's a conservatory, so you weren't allowed to audition, you weren't allowed to do anything, and I was a little aggressive in my approach of wanting to do this, and so I didn't complete the program because I wanted to work, and so I'll just say that. But overall, I do feel like the vocal exercises and the Alexander technique and all of that, the body movement, that really helped me a lot as far as grounding me, and also with just the language, being able to handle that type of language.
Okay, great. So I've heard this story about you crashing a Save the Last Dance audition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What was the story behind that?
Well, again, I was just very hungry. I was young. I didn't really know a whole lot, but I just knew that I wanted to act, and I was just I didn't have an agent at the time. Actually, I did have an agent. I had a commercial agent. I didn't have a theatrical agent. And I was just hearing people, you know, here and there, like, oh, Save the Last Dance. Did you go in for Save the Last Dance? Did you go in? And I was like, no, I didn't go in for it. And this one girl that I work with, she was saying that she had an audition like the following day or something like that for Save the Last Dance. And I was like, really? What time? You know, I was getting all the little information that I needed because I knew I was going to show up. And so I did, you know, and I got there and they were very specific about what they were looking for. All the girls had like long straight hair. I came in there with my little twisty twist, short natural hair, and I was like, this might not work because they're very clear on what the type that they want. And sure enough, the casting director, she comes out and she sees me immediately and she's like, does everybody here that's here, does everyone have an appointment? Like that was like clearly for me. And I was like in my seat like, So I got up and I started talking to her and I was like, you know, I don't have an appointment, but can I please audition for this? And she let me audition. And that just turned into several auditions and then I eventually booked a role in the movie.
Nice. That's a great story. It's like a testament of just really being persistent. And do you feel that like in terms of going to auditions and persisting in a way like how you did with Save the Last Dance, do you feel like that's something that is not really done like in this day and age? I feel like the auditions are so much more like closed and there's not a lot of room left for really just kind of like, I'm here, like, can I slide in? Do you think that that's a thing or no?
I don't know. Actors might do it if they have the information. You know, now everything is going on tape. So I think a lot of times versus people showing up, they're just putting themselves on tape and trying to get their audition to the casting director, you know. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying do it, but I'm not saying not do it. You know, it's like whatever you need to do, you know, follow your instincts. And if something is leading you to go for it, I say go for it because you never know what type of door that might open up for you.
And what was your support system like home-wise, like growing up and pursuing? Because I know for some it's kind of like this, well, okay, that's a cool thing to do on the side, but
right.
Like real job. Did you face any of that growing up, or were your parents very like supportive of what you were trying to do while you were younger, like trying to come up in the...
Oh yeah, my mom was like, you need to get a job. Like, are you still doing the acting thing? Like, what's going on? Like, what, you know? But now that I'm older, I understand. But back then, I was like, she a hater, you know? It was like, I didn't get it. But, you know, acting, just the whole world of entertainment, you know, it's very idealistic. And for our very realistic parents, they don't see stability in that. And we didn't really have anybody in our family that came from entertainment or who worked in the field. So my mom was very afraid. She was very cautious. So she wanted me to follow a path that, you know, quote unquote, that was more stable. Like, you know, get a job, you know, get your degree, you know, this whole idea of stability, you know. And so I didn't have a lot of support when I first started, but luckily, I've always been very aggressive and a bit of a rebel, so I didn't listen. I was like, okay, Mom, you know, I'm moving to LA still, you know.
Well, we're glad that you didn't listen.
Exactly, me too.
I've definitely taken a look at your resume of work thus far, and I've noticed that you've worked with a lot of very, you know, affluent actors and directors, like Mario Van Peebles and Brandy, and how has that ever intimidated you in any way when you get on set and you're like around these like superstars? And if so, like how did you deal with that?
Actually, no. You know, maybe Brandy. For Moesha, because that was like my first job, you know what I mean? And I used to watch that show in Chicago, so it was like, oh my God, it was more of a, oh my God. Yeah. But even like as my career has progressed, I've always just been more excited versus intimidated. You know, I felt like I belonged. I felt like, let's play. So, no.
Awesome. And having worked with actors of that caliber thus far, are there any people in particular that you haven't worked with yet that you're really looking forward to working with in the future? Like if you had like like a bucket list of big name actors that you want to work with in the future, what would some of those people be?
I would love to work with like Tina Fey. I think she's so funny. Issa Rae, Sally Field, Meryl Streep, Halle Berry. It's a long list of actors. Denzel Washington. How did I forget him? He should have been like the first person.
I hear I was one of the bajillion of people who auditioned for Fences when the play was going on in New York, so I understand that sentiment for sure.
Yeah. Whoopi Goldberg. Yeah, I mean, those are some of the people I could like just think off the top of my head right now. But yeah, those are some of the people that I definitely would love to work with as actors. There's so many great actors. There's so much good work that's happening right now. I would love to work with Kerry Washington again. Yeah.
Nice. So one of the main reasons why we're here is your new movie coming out, Suburbicon. What is your role in that?
I play Mrs. Meyers, and my story is based off of actual true story that happened in 1957, based off of Daisy and William Meyers in Levittown, Pennsylvania. And basically, they moved into this community, a suburb that was basically supposed to be this peaceful, safe place. And they experienced like racism, bigotry, and all of these different things. So it's a story of how we basically navigated those waters during that time. And in this case, with the movie, in Suburbicon.
And how do you feel that is relevant, especially now with all the stuff going on with Trump being president and all the the incidents of things going on with like the police and just the racial divide in America right now?
I mean, it's very relative. I think that it's just more of the same, which is what's happening right now. I think that racism definitely still exists. It just reveals itself in different ways now as we progress technology-wise, and we just progress as people. It's just showing up in different capacities. I mean, I haven't really heard. I won't say this because it might ruin the movie. But some of the things that they experience per se may not happen today, but some form of it definitely happens. It just shows up in different ways. Look at Kaepernick. It's just like it's. I think it's very relative to what's happening today.
So you mentioned Colin Kaepernick and we all know like what he's going through right now in terms of standing for or say not for but against the police brutality that's going on in America and taking a stand with that and taking the knee. Are there any instances in the movie where your character like takes a specific stand like on what's happening with her and her family in that environment?
It's very interesting how the Meyers deal with the whole circumstances of living in this town and facing such hatred for no other reason than the color of their skin. Not to give away the movie, but they definitely deal with it in a certain way. Taking a stand, I feel like the stand that we took is that we didn't move. We were entitled to live wherever we wanted to live, and regardless of what we faced in the town, it wasn't enough for us to be like, let's get out of here, let's move. We were like, okay. I mean, maybe it wasn't that. That's more me. But they were just, they stayed. And so, in a sense, that is a stand that regardless of what you do, we're still here.
And do you have any upcoming projects that you'd like to let us know about coming up in the future besides Suburbicon?
Yeah, I've done, I'm going to be on 50 Cent's new show, 50 Central. And that's I don't know when it's going to air, but that was fun. It's kind of like a prank. It's a variety of different things happening with the show, but that's going to start airing September 27th. And then I'm also on Shameless season 8. And then I did a pilot called Beyond the Badge, and I don't know if it's going to get picked up. It's like it's an independent cop show, and I play like an undercover narcotics officer. So those are the things as of now. And then there's a movie Bolden that may come out. It's gonna come out. I don't know when it's gonna come out, but that movie has been in the works for a while, and it's about the man who created the sound of jazz. So, yeah.
Nice. So that's great. You get some musical influence in there. That's great.
Yeah.
What was it like being a part of Shameless? I know one of my best friends is from Chicago, and I know that's like a huge thing for them out there. They love Shameless.
Yeah. It was good. Yeah, it was good. It's a good experience.
Nice, awesome. So just to get maybe the viewers a little bit into the personal life of Karimah Westbrook, what are some things that you like to do for fun?
For fun, I like to hang with my girlfriends. It's so interesting. I really don't do a whole lot. I mean, outside of work, I feel like I'm always trying to create something. I used to paint years ago. I haven't painted in a while, but that was like a big release for me years ago. And now I just write, I research. I like to read, but I find joy when I'm connecting with people. I really feel a sense of like release and just stepping away from the industry and just my normal day-to-day trying to, figure things out or create something.
Gotcha. And what would you say is like your top 5 like movies or shows of all time?
My top 5 shows, okay, Sopranos.
Mm-hmm.
Love The Sopranos. Like, I love gritty stuff. I love gritty TV shows, actors. I just love that. The Cosby Show.
Mm-hmm.
I know Bill Cosby. But,
no, it's okay.
The Cosby Show was a great show.
Yes.
I didn't grow up with my dad, so watching that show, it was like, oh my God, that's what family looks like. That in my mind, that was what family looks like. And then Alias was a show that was on ABC like years ago. And Jennifer Garner, I just love the fact, I love seeing women like kicking some major butt. Mm-hmm. So I was like hooked on that show for years. And then Moesha was one of my favorite shows because Moesha kind of reflected me as a young girl. And I thought it was amazing. And I love Brandy as a singer, so I was really into it. So that was like one of my favorites. Movies, Color Purple, that was 5, right? That was 5.
Mm-hmm. It's all good. Yeah, I definitely have we share a lot of commonality in that. Moesha was like one of my favorites growing up as well.
Yes.
Yeah, my dad loved Alias. Jennifer Garner, it's true.
Yeah.
When it comes to kicking butt, she was like one of the first
yes.
of our generation.
Yeah.
Now it's like Atomic Blonde and
yes.
Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
He's like up there. Is action movies anything that you've ever been interested in doing?
Yes. A lot of the things that I've done very early on, like guest stars and stuff like that, I'm like punching people, I'm knocking people out. So I definitely have always wanted to do that. I've just never positioned myself to do that. Like those opportunities haven't come yet, but yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so Karimah, thank you so much for coming in and talking with us today.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. If you could just let the fans know where they can find you on social media, where they can follow your career and then your progress going forward.
Okay, great. On Facebook, it's Karimah Westbrook. It's Facebook.com/Karimah Westbrook. Then I'm on Twitter at only one Karimah, the number 1. And then same thing on Instagram. It's at only one Karimah.
All right, guys, thanks again for joining us with The Real Deal with Keith Trent. Make sure you pick up your October copy so that you can see this interview in full and find out what I thought about the movie Suburbicon coming forward in the future. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
We'd like to take the time out to thank you for tuning in to TNE Magazine's interview with Karimah Westbrook. If you haven't already subscribed to TNE Magazine, make sure you do so now so you never miss any of our upcoming interviews or fun stuff to come.